Hey guys, a couple of you asked me to make a recording of a scaffold for your assessment task for the scaffold/mind map that you need to submit as the first part of your Better Health for Individuals assessment task. So here it is. I obviously am not going to do a point from the syllabus for Better Health for Individuals because that obviously gives whichever dot point an unfair advantage over everybody else. So I've just picked one from the body in motion, and you can get a general idea of what I'm looking at here. All I've done so far, you don't need to put the syllabus part in here like I have, but all I've done so far is I've got my major bones involved in movement, structure and function of synovial joints, and joint actions. From here, we're going to break it down. Your assessment task says that it just needs to be 1 to 2 A4 pages, be created using a computer program, condense and categorize the information, and address all aspects of the dot point thoroughly. Okay, so nothing overly complicated there. Let's see how we go. So for major bones and involved in movement, okay, so you have to remember that we've got fibrous, okay, we've got flat bones, long bones, short bones, irregular bones, and sesamoid. Have I forgotten anything? Ugh. McPherson's spelling. Oh no, it just doesn't like it. Okay, so this is great, but you probably need to give me an example of each of these. It's not necessarily enough just to list them. So fibrous bone would be in the cranium, okay, in the skull. A flat bone would be your sternum. Sorry guys, it's a little late in the afternoon. The brain's a little fried. Long bone would be your femur, okay. Short bone would be the carpal bones, okay, so they're just the little square ones in the palm of your hand, if you will. Irregular bones are like your vertebrae, and then the sesamoid, my favorite one to say, would be the patella. Okay, so you've abbreviated. Lies. You've summarized the types of bones, okay? You've given me an example of each. If you wanted to be super fancy, okay, you could put in a diagram. This is just one I've had on the side because I am a nerd. So if we just fit this over here, oh, cheese and rice. Why does it not like me? What a jerk. There we go. Okay. So this is all I'm talking about. So it does say potentially put diagrams in if or where possible. Don't put one in just for the sake of it, okay? It needs to actually have meaning. So this to me gives me a good representation of the different types of bones. It gives me another way to view it, and it may actually act as some form of a resource when I was to further present this information to someone, okay? You may not have that functionality of graphs and diagrams in the Better Health for Individuals. There will be some spaces for it, but it's not something that you're always going to need to do, if that makes sense. Okay, so that was very straightforward. Major bones involved in movement. Done. Let's highlight, cheese and rice. Cheese and rice. Highlight that. Done. Structure and function of synovial joints, okay? So we don't kind of jump straight into that. There's a few more things we need to talk about under this dot point. So we've got, if you will remember, the axial and the appendicular skeleton, okay? If I was clever enough, I would have had a diagram to put here, okay? Insert diagram. And that would be a good representation of showing the difference between the midline of the skeletal system and just the arms and the legs, basically. Okay, so that's something you need to talk about there. And then you would have your one and only favorite, the vertebral column. You can't escape that bad boy. You would list each section. okay, describing the characteristic, oh dear, oh, you know that's characteristic, describing the characteristic of each, okay, and you would also maybe insert a picture. We all love pictures, providing they're helpful and not just time fillers. So now, okay, you have finished that section. Perhaps I highlighted prematurely before. Now we're going to move on to the structure and function of synovial joints. Bum, bum, bum. So we have to remember that there are 3 types of joints that we've talked about so far. So we've got fibrous, very exciting, cartilaginous, did I spell that right? Of course I didn't. I can't even pronounce it right, guys. And synovial. Okay, from memory, we talk about synovial more than anything. So we're talking about fibrous, no joint cavity, and we, for example, also were talking, oh goodness me, we were talking about the cranium or the skull. Okay, so we're talking about how they're still a joint, but it's very little movement between the plates in our head, if you will. They're meant to stay together. Cartilaginous, no joint cavity, and held together by cartilage. Okay, no joint cavity, held together by cartilage. Okay. So that's what we're looking at there, and we use the example vertebral column because that's the little dividers there. Then synovial, this little bad boy, okay? Bones has a joint cavity and all the other stuff that went in that joint cavity, okay? So held together by ligaments and are separated by synovial fluid in the joint cavity. Okay, you've given me an explanation. Remember that this is something that you're going to try and bring to your peers in regards to your topic, and they're going to say yes, no, too much information here, not enough information here. I have no idea what you're trying to say here. This is what you're bringing. This doesn't have to be perfection, okay, for week 1 submission, but it needs to be a pretty good go, okay? There's no point in bringing this in. Remember, I can have a look at your peer review, okay, and I can potentially deduct marks if part 1 of this task isn't done to my standard, which I explained in depth today. So we're now going to talk about types of synovial joints, okay? Oh, guys, I strongly apologize for the hideousness. That is my typing. So there are 6. We've got the ye old hinge joint. We've got the pivot. Every time I say pivot, I think of Friends. Pivot, ball and socket. We've got the saddle, the condyloid, and the gliding joint. Okay, so if you want, providing in your condyloid, yeah, okay, providing you can, the person looking at your peer review can see that you've identified all these, I've actually gone a step further and I've kind of mushed together in my summary, or I'm going to, the structure and function of synovial joints, and I've put in the action as well. Okay, so if we've got a hinge joint, okay, an example of that would be at the elbow. And what kind of movement or action does it do? Okay, we've got flexion and extension. This is what we're talking about here. Pivot, okay, so we had the top of the neck, and it is a rotation. We're moving our head around. Ball and socket, we've got the hip joint, And this little bad boy has a lot. So we've got abduction, adduction. We've got extension and flexion. Okay, for the saddle, oh, I was doing so well. For the saddle joint, we've got joint of the thumb, and its movement is flexion. Oops, a daisy. Extension. We've got adduction, abduction, circumduction. Okay, remember that's just the round movement. So if you put your thumb up at the moment and move it around in a circle, okay, circumduction there. Condyloid, we've got where the bones in our hands meet our ulna. Okay. Then we are looking at flexion and extension. And abduction. I have to say that because I'm a bit dyslexic at times. Get my B's and my D's mixed up. We've got the condyloid. Oh, have I done that right? No, we've just done the condyloid, sorry, the gliding joint. So we've got the small bones in the hand. So remember, if we were looking at your hand, you've got that palm of the hand. If we're looking at the back of the hand, it's those little bones that make up that section between your wrist and your actual fingers. Okay, and they're kind of just moving all the time. Even as I'm typing, they're moving to allow my fingers to move. It's that gliding motion. Okay, so here I've actually gone through and kind of done these two in one go. Ugh, that kills my OCD, but we'll just have to move on. Okay, so identify the location and type of major bones. Okay, so for example, I'm quickly running out of time on my recording, so I'm not going to do that. I did actually, nerd alert, have another picture here to put in. Holy Toledos, look at that bad boy, he's enormous. For your joint actions, remember it can be 2 pages, so it's not the end of the world. If I just put that up there, and that can sort that out. Okay, so I'm going to leave the recording here. Okay, what you would then, for example, do next is you're going to identify the location of the major bones. So you're talking about here, the long bones articulate. So articulate, we said meet, okay, and they create that action at hinge joints. So you would be telling me that you're looking at your radius ulna meeting your humerus, your arm bones, okay, and they create that flexion and extension. You would then be going on and talking about how your femur, okay, joins with your hip bone, and then you can do circumduction, abduction, adduction, all those sorts of movements. Okay, hopefully this helps. Let me know. Bye.